One final little methodology I'll use here to kind of share with you some of the ways that you can manipulate the text-based log files to make your examination easier. You're still probably going to have to page through lots and lots of pages of these actual log files, read them, understand them, and figure out what the messaging is actually telling you. However, there is another very common use case. I mentioned before that by filtering out our connections, we actually get a much reduced log file. But what if that's what you're trying to get at? What if one of the problems that you're seeing is a spike in the arrival of connections? The number of cursors spikes up. You want to see when that was actually happening. So we know that these the connections are logs from April 5th. We were just looking at them. So what if we wanted to see the connection arrival rate? So we're going to grep on connection first. Again, we're just using subsets of the strings because we know they're not going to match anything else. We're going to use the connection accepted string in this case. We're going to grep for connect show. We can make that connection if you want. MongoDB. Then we're going to grep for ACCE, which is for accepted, because we're going to have end and accepted and things like that. So we'll just look for accepted. So this will give you your connection arrival rate. And then we're going to pipe it into our old friend grep-o. So again, this will only print out the matching pieces of the string. Now, the interesting piece here is these 5 dots. Those 5 dots indicate match any one string up to a maximum of 5, or any character, excuse me, up to a maximum of 5. And what you'll notice here is I'm going to reduce this down to 2, okay? And the reason for that will become clear quite soon. Then we're going to pipe them into sort, just so that we get them in a nice order, and then we'll do them in unique and count them. Unique-c will just count how many entries we have for each individual value here. So we're going to sort them, then count them. And there we go. And here's where your 2 dots comes in. You've got April 5th, 06, 07, 08, 09, etc., all the way up to 23. So basically what you've done with these 2 dots is said, give me a count, that's your unique-c, of all of the connections arriving and being accepted per hour. So there you go. So there's we can see that probably this is the start of the log file, so it's only a partial error at 6 a.m. on April 5th, 1800 at 7 a.m. and then ramping up throughout the day. So the peak looks to be around 3 in this given time zone, 23:56, April 5th at 15. And you might say, okay, well that's great, but that's only per hour. How do I increase the granularity? Well, you actually have to go to 4 dots, because the third character is just going to be a colon between the hour and the minutes. So this would give you, going to 4 dots will give you the arrival rate per 10 minutes. And there you go. So you can actually see the arrival rate. So this is how many connections were accepted in the 10 minutes from 2250 to 2259. So there you go. That's that one. And then finally, the one that we started with, we go to 5 dots, 5 periods. Now you have it per minute. Alright, so I think we said that the busiest time was in the 15s, if I remember correctly, somewhere in here. So you can see there was 64 connections arrived during this particular minute, and sometimes this can be in the many hundreds, whereas everything else is in the 30s and 40s, and it can be much more obvious where your connection spikes are. This one seems fairly steady throughout the time, roughly peaking at, this is per minute, so 64 per minute would give you roughly 1 per second. So there you go, that's how you would do that. And there are various other manipulations that you can do. We could be here for hours, basically, some more, looking to see where the connections come from. But it's all about basically stringing together these operations in a way that makes sense. And if you're doing this day to day, you'll build up a collection of these sort of useful ones, things that are good for your particular setup, good for the things that you're usually looking for. And you can build up a little toolkit, essentially, to help you narrow in on a particular issue and zone in on a particular problem. What I may see about doing is actually putting up a series of these, sort of our commonly used ones, as some fodder for you. We may leave 1 or 2 out and challenge you to construct them yourself. So see how that goes, and we'll see how we structure that at the end of the module. But that's it. That's a brief look through examining log files. It's more of a methodology rather than an explanation of individual log file messages. Going through each individual log file message will be quite time-consuming, a bit beyond the scope here. We may see what we can do in terms of common error messages and their meaning type thing in another module. But for actually going through parsing and getting through log files, this is your general methodology. In a subsequent module, we're going to show you some tools that can shorten this considerably and give you some more visual tools so that you can look for patterns more easily and things like that. That's it for examining log files.